Yeah, you're like a baby monkey who's grown into a monkey boy.
What'd you say?
Believe it or not, this is one of the greatest anime slash manga of all time. Hey, g'day. There's this one manga that I'm a massive fan of. It's absolutely incredible. But there's this one thing about it. No one seems to talk about this series, which is to say the least. This is Kingdom, the best anime you've never heard of. A mate of mine got me into the manga a good while back, and I was shocked to see just how small the community was for a franchise this polished. Or at least how little of a presence they have. It just doesn't add up. The manga is a 9 on my anime list and has been for a good while. It's the bloody 11th highest rated manga on the entire site. And it's one of the highest grossing manga of all time. In fact, for years, Kingdom was the only title that could compete with One Piece in sales. But no one talks about it. This show got a fucking 5th season this year, and still no one talked about it. The only thing I ever hear from this show is other people talking about how no one is talking about this show. It's bloody weird. The manga's almost flawless, so it's hard to think of that being the issue. Its art is extremely detailed yet easy to follow. The story's fucking sick as. Solid pacing for a binge at least. It has some of my favorite characters in all of manga, Kanki and Yontanwa. It really is just that good. Prior to making this video, I hadn't yet watched the anime, so I thought maybe it was poorly adapted. I checked it out and yeah, it's still fucking really good and highly rated. So what the hell's going on? Well, as you saw from the start of the video, the anime did have some really bad episodes right off the bat. The first 3 episodes of Kingdom are awful. Hard to watch bad, massive turnoff. Despite season 1 only airing in 2012, so it ain't even that old. The anime adaptation got a piss poor budget, so there's a lot of really ugly CG early on. I almost dropped the anime within the first 5 minutes of episode 1, only deciding to stick with it because I know how great the source material gets. But it makes sense that people who didn't have this insider information might have given up on it. That and the fact that the sub always likes to use the Chinese spellings of the names instead of the Japanese, which is a fucking massive pain in the ass, as it makes things a bit hard to follow at times. So these couple of reasons are all I got as to why this series is so unheard of, but hey, what do I know? But still, after those first handful of bad episodes, the rest of season 1 has pretty bearable animation, and is still fantastic when it comes to the story. By season 2, the animation is solid, and it just keeps improving with the next. So you do have to put up with a couple of bad episodes right off the bat, but that's like 3 bad episodes to the other 139 great ones. That's right, you heard me. Across 5 seasons, we got 142 episodes. Ah, the good old days. Back when anime released seasons with more than 12 bloody episodes. And there's like 800 chapters of the manga, so it's getting up there. No one's talking about this show. I think that's a shame. Don't sleep on this shit. Kingdom is a piece of historical fiction set in ancient China towards the end of the Warring States period. And for those of you who aren't all that well versed in your ancient Chinese, the Warring States period was a time in which the 7 states of China fought with one another over territory and power for almost half a millennia. If that ain't one of the sickest time periods to set a story, I don't know what is. And if you want to learn about it, well, you ain't coming out of Kingdom with a comprehensive knowledge of the Warring States, but it is one hell of a substitute. 99% of Kingdom is historically inaccurate, or at least the creator, Yasuhiro Hara's source, was that he made it the fuck up. But who gives a shit? At the end of the day, that 1% is all the big picture crap that actually matters. Hara had to take liberties in filling the gaps, and he's done a fucking spectacular job. Essentially, the Kingdom manga is true when discussing big events and key moments within the wider world, but all the shit in between is fluff. If the Shiji records say that a Quinn general bested Chu in a fight of 60,000 to 80,000, the manga might accurately depict those details and perhaps the names of some generals, but all the strategy and details concerning the fights are fiction, for the most part. So take all the historical crap with a grain of salt. A good portion of it is played up for entertainment purposes, and Quinn has been absolutely nerfed for the sake of the story. But that's what you want. Case in point, our main character Shin. Shin is not a deep character. He is a shonen protagonist. Dumb as rocks, incredibly strong with a heart of gold and plot armor so thick you'd think he was Lizzo. But don't get me wrong, despite this, he is a great character and fits perfectly in line with the story. Believe it or not, this characterization of him complements both the themes of the show and the progression of the plot. And he himself is based off of a real-world general who started off as a foot soldier and rose up the ranks on pure determination. Plus, not all too much is known about him, making him a perfect contender for Protag. The anime takes it one step further and has Shin and his best mate Hyo start off as war orphans, raised as servants in the countryside. As kids, they dreamed of becoming great generals of the heavens, and practiced their battle skills from dawn till dusk every day for years. Okay, I know it doesn't sound all too impressive, pretty stock standard for a story start, but you just gotta give it some time to cook. Eventually, Shin and Hyo get to an age where they're presented opportunities in order to make a start in their journey. Both different from one another, yet intertwined, and they both seize those opportunities, putting everything aside in order to achieve their dream. But reality ain't so nice. As can be imagined, battlefields are fucked up. Death is everywhere, bodies are flying, and your odds of survival aren't high at all. It's a fucking gamble for most. But when Shin steps foot into this world, he thrives. Even at a young age, Shin had moxie and traits befitting of a great general. Now he just has to climb the ladder. At first, he was no more than a backwater servant. But soon enough, he became the commander of his own unit, the He Shin unit, and with time and valor, its troops only grew, leading them by example and using his exceptional charisma to motivate them and boost morale. And this is why I said Shin's characterization works. Kingdom puts a big emphasis on the two differing types of generals within this time period. On one hand, we have the strategic types, generals that rely on tactics and knowledge to assure victory. On the other hand, we have our instinctive types, generals that fight with intuition and rely on instinct. Our Shin is the latter. It'd be fucking boring to have a protagonist in this setting kick up his legs while he sends his men into battle. Shin ain't smart enough to meticulously plan out tactics, so being a strategic type is out of the question. He is simple, headstrong, and earnest. Shin's style is charging headfirst into battle and finding a way to break into the enemy camp. He also ain't ever satisfied without taking out a big fish, so instinctive type all the way. But how he goes about it is what makes him unique in this world, because no one is as dumb and honest as this bloke. So yeah, he climbs his way up the ranks, and with each big promotion, he gets more troops under his command. And just as Shin's hope speeches motivate his troops, it does the same for us. It really feels like you're a part of the He Shin unit, and you grow to love these random side characters you see within it. A lot of these named characters in Shin's unit have barely any lines. They themselves are insignificant to the overarching story and wider world. But to Shin, they matter. And they matter to us as well. It's as simple as the fact that we've seen these faces follow Shin into battle time and time again. What do we know about them? Fucking jackal. Their name, when they joined the unit, what skills they're proficient at. That's about it, if you're lucky. But it still fucking hurts when we see these faces disappear from the panels, successfully pulling off gut-wrenching deaths. But despite knowing the risks, they follow Shin into the eye of the storm every time. And speaking of, the wars in this series are fucking incredible. It is honestly astonishing how detailed these conflicts are. It's never just a straightforward, we go, we fight, we win. This ain't just some battle manga. We have entire armies pit against each other, tens of thousands of soldiers fighting, with multiple generals on each side, each commanding their own segment of the army. When it comes to these generals, each of them have their distinct warring techniques, battle styles, and values. Pretty much every main general that is introduced is fucking awesome and brings something different to the table. And that just makes for good bloody content. Pretty much every war has you on the edge of your seat. The writing is just so good. And that's the case even outside of the battles. There's a massive overarching B-plot in Kingdom that is intertwined with Shin's story. We also follow the young king of Qin, Sei, and his faction as they try to unite all of China. So there's the war side with Shin, and the political side with Sei. I think these parts are also really well done and interesting, often leading to some of the biggest wars, and it's always good for a bit of downtime between. However, I do agree that they don't compare to the time spent in battle. I like seeing people hit each other. Either way, this series is peak, and while I can't say it's perfect, it's pretty goddamn close. Kingdom is incredible, fucking really good, and it's so underappreciated. It's worth the watch and or read. And with that being said, it's gotta join the other 9s up here. Now you've heard about it, spread the word. See ya.